Yes. Hello, everyone. We're back. Hello. All right. I'm back here with Evan EINHORN. And again, this is Mincolla Group Live, where you're going to get the best info on how to buy or sell homes in the current market conditions. So let's get started. Evan, today we're going to be going over the home buying process in general. We're not going to be able to get too in depth with the time we have, but we're going to give a general overview. Guys, just remember a quick note. Make sure you like, follow, share, and ask questions. All right. So today, again, we're going to be going over the home buying process. And Evan, do you want to start off with your portion, which is going to be pre-qual?
Yeah. Obviously, we're involved throughout the whole thing, but the most important step is pre-qualification.
I can figure it out later. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. No, pre-qual. Okay.
Yeah, so getting pre-qualified, knowing your numbers is the first step. Obviously, if you have cash to buy a home, skip me. That's great. If you don't need to finance something, that's great. Go straight to Chris. But if you do need financing, if you can't pay cash for the entire home, getting pre-qualified is the first step. So contacting, a local mortgage broker, local lender like me is the first step. And basically, we go through an application. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes, either online, over the phone, or in person. And then we collect all your documentation. If you have your pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements handy, literally you can be pre-qualified, like fully pre-qualified with all docs on hand within an hour or two. So it doesn't need to be a very long process. So getting pre-qualified, so that way you know exactly what price point you're qualified for, so that way you don't look at a home that you can't even buy, like there's no possibility of buying. And two, with good loan officers, what we'll do is we'll let you know, hey, here's what your payments are going to look like at different price points. Here's what the loan program I recommend for you, or here's a couple different options. So you're really an educated buyer before you even talk to, Chris, or Cindy. So getting pre-qualified on the high level, talking to us, getting documentation, and then finding out, okay, what can I really afford? Just because you're qualified for $500,000 doesn't mean you want to go to $500,000. We might discuss and say, hey, to keep payments where we want to be, we might want to be closer to $350,000. So that's the first step. And once I have you fully pre-qualified, then you're out shopping with Chris.
Yeah, guys. So now the fun part begins. And first thing is, before we even get into that, we like to do a home buyer consultation, but we can start searching for homes, looking at homes that same day. So if you have some addresses, or all we need is street addresses or MLS numbers, we'll have those ready to go. Check on those before we even meet. But before we go look at homes and make the biggest financial decision of your life, we want to make sure you know what you're doing throughout the whole process, so we don't surprise you with something later on you didn't know about. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Things move pretty quick once we start getting going. Once you're pre-qualified with Evan, we can really go in and be the specialist to pinpoint the type of home you should be looking for, not only by price point, but by loan type. Not all homes are going to qualify for every single loan that's out there. Some homes may not qualify for FHA home buyers. Some may be cash only. So we don't want to waste your time looking at homes that you're going to break your heart, right? So the home search, we're going to want to make sure that is tailored to you, so that you're not wasting time looking on sites like Zillow or Trulia, third-party sites that we push all our listings out to as realtors on the multiple listing service. But that multiple listing service custom search is really going to be the search that you're going to want to go by, because that's going to have the most accurate, up-to-date information, and it's going to be tailored to your home buying experience, okay, what you're qualified for. So we want to make sure you're not getting old, outdated information or even fraudulent information that may be out there on the web, all right? Super important to make sure that, that's part of what we do. That's why, we get paid the minimal bucks. And we want to make sure that we're getting you out there looking at the right stuff. And also, by having you pre-qual, it helps us be able to negotiate and put in the offers, which is the next portion. Our team will help, help you through, are the homes worth this much or that much, get you through that idea of what we should be offering on the property. Again, We can only advise. At the end, it's your decision on what home you're buying, how much you want to offer, and all that. But Evan gives us the overview, negotiations for what you're doing as far as your down payment, closing costs, your overall picture financially, so we can help you stay at the payment you want to be at and be happy with that too. So we'll be able to place the offer, write those offers up. We practice limited law. We go by the contract that Arizona provides for us for the AAR, and we'll make sure that those forms are all correct and we're properly writing everything up for you and negotiating the best deal possible for you for price and other terms such as closing costs, maybe home warranties, all that good stuff. Evan, anything else you want to mention in there on the loan side?
I think the biggest thing, is that Chris, you and I, we work as a team. So
super important. Good.
Very important. I've been a lender on a deal where the realtor was not so great. I used to be a realtor, and I used to be a great realtor, and I've been on a deal where the lender was not so great. You really do need a good realtor and a good lender. One, to get you pre-qualified, and two, to actually make sure you're working as a team and everything's going to close on time and you're educated. So we're big on education, making sure, hey, everything up front, that there's no surprises or anything, because home buying is fun for my buyers. You know what I mean? Like it is one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, but home buying, if you have all the information, it should be fun. You should be out searching for homes with Chris and Cindy and, having a great time and finding your next dream home. So that's what I would add there. So
yeah, I totally get it. The financial side, the loan side isn't always the most fun part for people, right, but it gets us out there looking at the homes, and it'll end up saving you time and money in the long run. So right, again, on our end, our services are free, so you're not paying us as a realtor anything on the home buying side. So we'll be getting you through that process either way on that side. So it's super important to have that information up front for us so we can do the best job for you. Once we put an offer in, we may have some negotiations or maybe some counter offers back and forth. Once everybody has decided on the price for the buyer and seller on both sides, we negotiated that. We are under contract, and we sign off on that in writing. And then the terms of the contract, we're not going to get into all the details of that today, but the next thing that would need to happen is we would want to open up what's called escrow. With a title company, we have, Magnus Title with Laura Bethel. She does an amazing job. She's our favorite escrow person. So we're going to always recommend we go with her unless you have one you want to use. We'll try and negotiate her into the process, of course. And your earnest deposit, depending on your price point, could be as little as $1,000, maybe $2,000, or 1% of the purchase price, somewhere in that range. Is what we'll normally see. Under the luxury market, you're probably looking at a couple grand for the earnest deposit. That basically makes sure you got skin in the game, right, Evan?
Yep.
As far as concerned, to open up escrow.
Yep. So that basically just makes sure that you don't walk away for no reason. So yeah, we are going to talk about some contingencies that protect the buyer, because the purchase contract, it does protect the buyer. There's not many things. The seller really can't walk away unless the buyer does something bad, but there's a lot of steps that, hey, you're not tied to the contract even after going under contract. So the deposit really isn't a big deal. It's not like you're going to lose that money if for some reason later on in the process during the inspection period, as long as you're following the right timelines, which you and Cindy are great at, following. So
yeah, and Cynthia oversees and writes all the contracts. She's got over 26 years of legal experience. So of course, I'm not going to be doing as much of that or any of that with her involved. I'm going to be working more on the sales side and making sure that we're getting you the best customer service and finding those right homes, of course. So on the next part of the contingency, to make sure that we're protecting that earnest deposit as we go along, and the title company basically is that third party that will also make sure that that money is set up for your escrow account. So all the money coming in and out for the buyer and seller, for all the net proceeds and the loan and everything, that's where all the money runs through, basically, in a nutshell, right, Evan? That's yep, basically what that accounts for.
Yep.
So, and here in Arizona, we don't have the attorney with trust accounts. We work through title companies. So in case anybody's confused about that, that's how it works here. Next part, first contingency would be your inspection period. Your inspection period is 10 days. You do not have to take the entire 10 days, but you have 10 days to inspect the home. It's also a time to inspect schools, shopping, utility companies, how much it maybe would cost for utilities, all that sort of thing. If the home has, solar, all that stuff, to figure out if you like the home, the area, community, and all that good stuff, HOAs, all that kind of thing. We'll give you a thing called the Buyer Advisory Guide, Arizona Buyer Advisory Guide. It'll have all the official live links that you'll want to be using in order to find out anything you want to know about anything when it comes to the home buying process, along with us guiding you through the whole thing. So those live links are going to be the official live links. I want to stress that instead of going on all these third-party sites, piecing stuff together, it's all right there. We have it for you. We give it to you, and make sure you get that during your buyer consult right away. That inspection period, you have 10 days. But we can, let's say we end up, you're good to go. We can recommend inspectors, licensed inspectors to go in. You're going to want to do that. We're going to always recommend you do that. No matter how old the home is, no matter how handy you are, we want to make sure that home gets inspected by a professional licensed inspector. To give you a general overview of the property, you can always have other specialists go in there for AC, roof, all that sort of thing, or mold if that comes up, if those things come up or there's some issues there. But in a nutshell, that general inspection report is going to be something that'll be very detailed out on red line items, that you want to get fixed, or general maintenance items with pictures and everything. Our inspectors are great. So, we always going to highly recommend them as we go along through the process here. You may want to have them come back later on during the process, which we'll talk about briefly later, to double check to make sure things were fixed properly, unless it's something simple that we can check during the final walkthrough later. But those, are going to, we tell people plan on about $500 that way in case they need to come back out again, it's covered. But every home is going to cost maybe a little bit different depending on size and if it has a pool or not and those sorts of things. And every company is going to charge a little more or less. So if we're figuring about $1,000 for inspection and appraisal, you should be good to go, right, Evan?
Yep. And I think the biggest thing there, people think, hey, when I'm under contract, like, what if there's something wrong with the home? That's what the inspection period's for. You have 10 days to do your inspections. To drive the neighborhood at different times, you can drive it on the weekend, drive it during the day. Who knows? Maybe the neighbors are big partiers on the weekends, and you wouldn't have known that unless you had this 10-day inspection period. But that's what it's for.
Maybe street parking's a thing for you overnight and all those sorts of things. You'll check those things out, like Evan said. Also, once we write up anything you do want fixed, we'll send that over in writing to them, and basically they have 5 days to respond to that. They don't have to take the whole 5 days, but they have 5 days per the contract, and then you have 5 days to respond to that. So everybody's got a little bit of time to kind of assess on both sides what repair costs might be with labor and everything, and do they want to move forward with it or not. If you want to move forward, great. If you don't, you get your earnest money back, whether it be $1,000 or $2,000 or 1% of the purchase price or whatever it is in escrow. But of course, you paid for the inspection now, so that you're out that cash for the tradesmen, the inspectors. So at that point, though, if we know there's no deal breakers and we want to move forward, even if we're still kind of in the process of going through the 5 and the 5 and the 10 and all those periods,
right,
then we can order the appraisal. That happens through Evan. You want to talk about that, Evan?
Yeah. So the appraisal is required anytime you're getting a loan on some sort. The good news is if you're putting at least 20% down, sometimes even less, and you have good credit, we might not need an appraisal, but it is still optional to the buyer. But most times you need an appraisal. What that does is it protects the lender and makes sure the home is worth what you're buying it for. So if you're buying something for $300,000, they want to make sure it's worth $300,000 if they're going to give you a loan on it. Just like I'm sure if you were giving, a friend money to borrow, if they were giving you something in return, I'm sure you'd want to make sure it's worth that. So the appraisal protects the lender and the buyer and confirms value. Takes about 5 or 6 business days. What they're going to do is they're going to see, okay, what recent sales in the area have sold? Are they similar? Were they slightly nicer, slightly worse? I can go really in depth, but I'm not going to today as far as how an appraiser comes up with numbers. but they're going to say, hey, this house is worth X amount of dollars. That takes about 5-6 business days. I'm not really involved. Chris isn't really involved. The buyer's not really involved. It's a third party appraiser that we don't get to pick, and they do that so we have no influence over the process, because that wouldn't be a true appraisal. So that's the appraisal process.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Alicia, for joining us. Appreciate it. Hello to you. And I would say, it could be me and 10 other realtors tell you that here's the range of the comps. Here's the comparable sales in the area that have already gone through appraisal in the last 6 months. Same story, same square footage, all that. But in the end, the appraiser, it's third party random, could come back totally different. So we're hoping that, obviously, and when I tell people this too, Evan, it could be good or bad for you, right? If the appraisal comes in high, great, you've got built-in equity. If it comes in low, we hope that seller comes down on the price, whether it be a couple thousand, $5,000 or 10 grand, whatever. Obviously, the further the disparity, the less chance there is of them coming down. But it could be good either way, right? Because now you're getting the property at a lower price, or you've got that built-in equity, right?
Right. So that's the second contingency.
Yeah.
So you can cancel if the inspection doesn't look good, if the appraisal comes in low, and the third would be loan contingency. So that would be something like, hey, you lost your job during the process, we can't get you the loan. You can still get your earnest deposit back. I mean, that's something we can talk about if you did your due diligence as a buyer. As long as you didn't breach a contract, something happened out of your control, that's the third contingency.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, so once the appraisal comes back, this whole time we're working on the back end to verify everything. We're verifying your employment. We're verifying, that the property is free and clear and good standing with the title company, their information. We're making sure that you're getting insurance set up. So there's a lot of things we're doing on the back end behind the scenes to make sure that the loan is going well. But once we have all that and once we have the appraisal back, then we get full and final approval. So once you get final loan approval, then we can move towards closing.
I would just want to mention too, the closing date is already written in the beginning of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So we write that we go under contract, and it is a legal document. Remember, you're going under contract all this time. Usual escrow period is going to be typically with a loan, Evan, 25 now to 35, 40 days, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 30-day escrows are typical. I mean, we could close it way sooner depending on the program. But 30 days are typical in our market for sure.
Yeah. So, during that period, keep in mind, we're going to help you at that closing table. The title company will contact you to sign all the documents and everything until the property records with the county recorder, which could be that same day or possibly the next day, depending on all the paperwork's there that everybody needs, including Evan. And final loan approval has been given. Evan, or title, has made sure that the property has no liens on it, no tax liens, no mechanical liens, nothing like that. Everything's clear for title. They'll end up sending that over to county recorder's office, and we'll get that recorded. And then the home is officially yours, and you get the keys. Okay, and then it's time to celebrate, right? One thing that will also help you with too is, of course, coordinating for moving trucks, the timing of that, utility setup, all that sort of thing. And a lot of people ask, well, what about the mailbox key and all those sorts of things? We'll help you through that whole process. Okay. One other thing I want to mention, Evan deals with the insurance. One other thing that's super important is having a home warranty, and that's something that we mention at our buyer consult. Give you some options, some different companies we like to recommend, but there's a ton of them out there. Just like to educate you on that. You don't want to be without a home warranty, and we write that in with the contract, or we can add it later before closing. But the idea is, if it's in the closing package beforehand, before you close, the day you walk through the door, the home's under warranty. So all your appliances, mechanical, especially out here in Arizona, AC's covered, all that good stuff. You're good to go on that. So, Evan, anything else you want to add?
No, I would say, just to recap, we got you getting pre-qualified, shopping for a home with you, going under contract, inspecting the property, getting the property appraised, and then getting loan approval, and then closing. So that's kind of the order. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, it's going to take months. If clients are qualified right away and they have their documentation to me, you could be shopping that same day potentially, and you could be closing within 20 days if you're good. So, you could buy a home in less than a few weeks, no problem, as long as you're on top of it, and we'll help you through the process. Like it's, being educated up front is huge. So this is just a tip of the iceberg. Like if you're actually a client of ours, we'll go way more in depth as far as explaining the process and everything, just to make sure you're 100% prepared for the home buying process. So.
And of course, if you're selling a home in this whole process, we can help you through that too, simultaneous closes, or if we're having to work out different type of options there too, we can figure that out. So not a problem. Anything else, Evan?
That's it.
All right, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot for joining us. We had quite a few people here today. Catch us on the replay, and we will see you guys next Wednesday at 1:30. Thanks a lot. Let us know if you have any questions. Evan, how do they contact you?
You can go to modernhomelending.com or call us at 602-456-2273. Again, that's www.modernhomelending.com. So appreciate it, Chris.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Thank you.